Secretary please call the roll?
Senator Chambers Armstrong, Senator Byrd, Senator Douglas,
Present.
Senator Higdon, Senator Howe, Senator Mays Bledsoe, Senator McDaniel, Senator Meredith, Senator Nemus,
Present.
Senator Nunn, Chair Rocky Adams.
Here.
We do have a quorum. We have one bill on for consideration, Senate Bill 202. Senator Julie Rocky Adams. We're late in the afternoon. It's been a long day. I think there's some people that may want to speak out on both sides of this. We're going to try to give everyone equal time here. But at this point, Senator Adams, the floor is yours. You may begin. I believe, do we have a committee? Yeah, we have a committee sub.
Yes. Do we have a motion on the sub?
There's been a motion by Senator Nunn. Is there a second? Second by Senator McDaniel. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. The committee sub is adopted. The floor is yours.
Thank you. And by now, everybody knows that 202 started out just as an administrative regulation shell bill. And it became increasingly apparent that the work that needed to be done on discussing regulations regarding weed water, which is a different way of talking about intoxicating hemp-derived beverage products. So what you have before you is a sub that does three things. Number one, it requires CHFS to promulgate administrative regulations by January 1 of 26 surrounding the specific intoxicating hemp-derived beverages. So we currently have regulatory infrastructure around hemp-derived cannabinoids, but we don't have regulation specifically talking to intoxicating hemp-derived beverages. So that's the first thing that the sub does. The second thing that the sub does is it requires the University of Kentucky to conduct a study, and what the study requires is they need to talk to or speak to the issues of manufacturing, testing procedures, distribution, sale, and consumer effects of beverages containing cannabidiol and other cannabidiol products. These are only specific to beverages. And the last thing that the sub does is it puts a moratorium on the sale of these beverages until July 1st of 2026. And let me tell you why I think that moratorium piece is very, very important. So there is absolutely no reason to call this a ban. This is simply banning these we are not banning these products. We are simply placing a moratorium on their sale until such time as we can establish robust regulations that protect Kentucky consumers and, most importantly, Kentucky children. So right now, these products are being sold. We think that they're not being sold to people under 21, but we have no assurances. We think we know what's in this can, but as we've studied these products, we don't know what is in the can. So we have a real, I think, consumer protection issue going on right now. We need to make sure that Kentucky gets this right. And so I would appreciate your all's yes vote on the sub.
Thank you. Chair Cook, would you like to add, do you have anything you would like to add?
I'll just say this. Representative Matt Cook, 72nd District, full support. Just wanted to be here and sign a solidarity with Senator Rocky Adams as we work through this. As we've studied this issue and as we've looked at it, quite frankly, we were very lax compared to our regulation of alcohol. And we did not want to ban this product. We're not trying to stop that, but we need to get, for the protection, for consumer protection, protection of Kentuckians, we need to get this and do it right.
And I'll add one more thing that Chairman Cook mentioned. So where we are in this committee with this sub is not where we want to end up. 100%. We want everybody to continue to come to the table so that we can make progress on this issue. We don't want to have a moratorium. We want to get to a good place. But let me tell you, since we introduced this sub, it's really been the first time that the stakeholders in this process have reached out with real constructive recommendations. And that's where we want to be. We want constructive recommendations. We want to be in a better place. But it was crickets from the very first meeting of L&O when we discussed this in September of 2024. It was crickets until about a week ago. And that's okay, but now we're in a better space and we want to make improvements and we want to get this industry into a regulatory framework that protects everybody.
Thank you. I think we have some members that have questions. Before we do, just to kind of let you know, there have been a bunch of people that have signed up to speak against this bill. I would like, as much as possible, for y'all to get together and decide who's going to speak. We're going to have about 6 to 7, 8 minutes for y'all to at this point, given the late nature of this and the time of the day. I want to make sure we get equal time for everybody, but we're kind of constricted on time here, and we're not going to sit up here for an hour going through this part of it. I think that my guess is that the opposition is going to say pretty much the same thing across the board. So if y'all could kind of get together while we're addressing some of this, and if you need a little time before you present, that'll be fine too. So I believe Senator Higdon had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative Cook, you remember back in the summer when we had the presentation, and I didn't know this was even a thing. And when I left here that day, I did called Dr. Stack and asked him about this, and he said we authorized a year ago. It's in KRS 217-125. We authorized the Cabinet of Health and Family Services to regulate these hemp products, and they have been working on it. And I called back when I called a month ago to ask them about it, and they said they had the regulations in place. They were hiring a enforcement division, and they were doing licenses to sell this product, and they were proceeding to oversee it. I called back today to ask about it, and I think they seem to believe that they think they're doing a good job of just starting on it. It's been the Wild West, but I think they're, in their opinion, they're headed down the right path to regulate these drinks and the hemp products. But like I said, it goes back to that meeting we had in September.
Not sure where the question was in there, Senator Higdon. I just comment on this. I think Senator Rocky Adams, I think it's fair to say that we want to treat this product differently than the gummies, than the vapes. Like, this is an intoxicating beverage, and as such, I believe it should be treated like other intoxicating beverages that we have in the Commonwealth. As far as the regulation of it right now, just a week ago we had it come up, and I learned about the QR codes that are on here, and I said, really? Okay, so that's got the ingredients on it. And this was not set up or anything. The first can I pull out, no QR code on the back of it. So it just shows that we've got some holes. And that's why not a ban, a moratorium. We need to get this thing right. When you see these cans, and this first one I pick up, this is Wild Blueberry Mojito. It's going to look like a lot of the energy drinks, et cetera, that are on the counter. Let's just get this right and keep it out of Kentucky kids and make sure we're regulating it properly. That's where we're going.
Yeah, I guess my question was, were you all aware that we did give the Cabinet Health and Family Services the oversight of this product?
Yeah, and in my remarks, Senator Higdon, the regulations that CHFS has promulgated, they cover hemp-derived cannabinoids. What we want them to regulate is intoxicating hemp-derived beverages. So it's a different area in which that we feel in order to protect Kentuckians, we need to have some regulations provided in intoxicating beverages.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator Berg, I believe, has a question.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for this bill. I just became aware of these things not that long ago myself, and really rather confused about what they are and what they're doing. Do we have any data, either nationally or here in Kentucky, as to actually how many instances of harm, like deaths, debilitation, hospital visitations, ICU admissions? Do we know anything about that at this point?
No, to answer your question, there's no data on, admissions to hospitals or impaired driving or any of those things. What we do know is that when you are dealing with an intoxicating product, that you could have a whole host of bad decision making, but there's no data specifically associated with these products result in hospitalizations.
I appreciate that.
I would
Thank you.
add this story to it, and I don't want to put the profession of what was going on to the person that happened. I don't want to get anybody in trouble on this, because they did self-report, but they went to a bar and asked for something non-alcoholic. They were going on duty, and they were handed one of these, and that is true. These are non-alcoholic, but they're also intoxicating. So these are the gray areas that we're talking about cleaning up.
Thank you. I believe Senator Nevins has a question.
Yes. Is this a legal product? Are you saying they have the wrong amounts of what is illegal in it, or the product doesn't actually say what's in it? And are you trying to just change who regulates it? I guess that's kind of three questions.
Yeah, it's and I'll try to take them. This is a legal product. In 2018, there was there was the federal farm bill, and they did not speak to this. It's been considered a loophole, which allowed this industry to really progress and create these products. And so, yes, they are legal products. And yes, we are trying to regulate them. And what was your other question?
Are they putting the proper amounts of THC or whatever in there, or are they saying? Also a question you.
And this is the part, and everybody who's come into my office and spoken with me, I said, I think one of the really key pieces of this is that testing piece. So that, because if you buy a bottle of bourbon, it's been tested, and then you're allowed to put it in the bottle and sell it. And so I think that testing piece is really important for this, because we have to have confidence that what's in this can is what the testing has said is in this can. And so far, we have taken multiple samples to the UK Cannabis Center, and we have asked them to test what is in these cans. We only asked to test what the milligrams were. We didn't ask to test any of the other ingredients that were in this can. And every single one came back with a THC level that was not labeled on the outside of the can. Not one was correct. And so we've got to get this right. And it doesn't matter if it's a lower milligram level or a higher milligram level. We need to have the correct level that's in the can. And one of the regs speaks to the fact that there needs to be homogeneous results. And there needs to be within a particular framework or a particular spectrum that this has to fall, where it has the designation of homogeneous. And based upon the levels that we got just on the milligrams from the UK lab, that would not be considered homogeneous results. So we've got a deficiency in the regs right now. And like I said, our objective is to just make sure that we continue the conversation, we move in a positive direction, we all get on the same page, because this is a legal product.
Thank you. Senator Chambers Armstrong, I believe, has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I am just learning about this. I did a lot of Googling last night and tried to educate myself. I'm just curious, one of the things that people were telling me is that there are, I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce all of these, cannabidiol or cannabinoid products that you might put basically hemp into a beverage, but it's not intoxicating. I guess there are different compounds and extracts and whatnot. As it's written, is there a concern that this could sweep in? I don't know what a beverage would be that would contain non-intoxicating hemp, but I'm told that they exist. Is there a concern that it could sweep in those products unintentionally?
Yeah. There is a concern, and I think our aim is for intoxicating, so we'll make sure that we can work on that part.
Okay, thank you. I share a lot of the concerns about the intoxicating, making sure it's regulated and all of that, and so I think that'd be a really good change. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Meredith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, Senator Adams and I had a chance to talk about this during session earlier, and I still struggle with the place a moratorium on this. You know, I look at the cans up here and it says that's a business, and you say it's already a legal product, and people have already made investments in equipment and they borrowed money to do this, and now we're going to say July next year it's shut down, and we don't know how long it's going to be shut down. Would it make more sense for us to set the standard, say you're going to have this level of THC in the drink, and you got by July 2026 to be there, or you can't sell the product?
Yeah, that's one of the, since we've introduced this sub, that's one of the conversations that has happened immediately. Is, first of all, there's been kind of an inconsistent message from the stakeholders on a lot of this, and we're starting to get a more consistent message about, some people wanted to say, well, anything 10 milligrams and below should be acceptable. Some people are saying 25 milligrams and below is acceptable instead of a moratorium. Some people are saying 5 milligrams and below is acceptable rather than a moratorium. So Chairman Cook and I are starting to really distill those who are in the industry, who are participating in the industry, that are working on this. So hopefully we're going to make some progress on that front. The other thing, too, is we have some really good actors in this space. Really good actors, really good Kentucky companies. And then we have some really bad ones. So just going down the street, you can pick up a can that's 100 milligrams of THC. And it's being not sold in a liquor store. It's just being sold down the street at a vape shop. Imagine if one of our kids got a hold of 100 milligrams in a can. That's significant. That's a problem. And that's the kind of story that we want to avoid by putting this bill out there, getting the stakeholders involved, and coming to a place that is a really responsible place to be.
Follow up, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Well, that's one of the advantages of being the legislature, is we get set standards, and we can do that and should be able to do it expeditiously, especially with the cabinet working with this. And I appreciate you recognize the good players. But by having a total prohibition in July of 2026, we're punishing the good players as well. And again, if they're good players, it's a business entity. They've made the investment in the equipment, and it'll shut down their revenue stream, and good probability they won't exist. So again, I don't understand why it doesn't make more sense to say by this date you've got to be at this level, or you can't sell the product in Kentucky.
Yeah, and again, I'll just answer your concern with we had no communication and no cohesion from this industry. This sub has created quite a chatter
I'm glad to hear that.
This sub has created stakeholders wanting to come to the table. And I think that what you have before you is a starting place. What I hope, it's not going to be an ending place, because everyone is engaged. This is too important of an issue to Kentucky kids to have this be the end place. This needs to be the starting place.
And I'm certainly in agreement with you, and that's exactly what I want to see as well. But what we're asking with the current language is prohibition. And prohibition never works. You go black market then, and that's going to exist. It's still going to be out there for people. And we're penalizing the good players. And again, I don't mean to be redundant. It just makes more sense to me to use this time to establish what the standards should be and say, by this state, you've got to be there or you can't sell the product. Mm-hmm. And I think you've got their attention, or we wouldn't have the crowd that we've had here today.
And Senator Merritt, I would just say that we have many tools in our toolbox when we go to work, and sometimes you have to get out the big hammer and bring everybody to the table, and that's where we are.
And I appreciate that, but again, we're penalizing the good players too, and I don't see that it's fair. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. I want to have a follow-up on that. Something that Senator Chambers Armstrong mentioned, and I hate to put you on the spot, and I do not mean to. And if the answer is I don't know, then that's it. But you were talking about one of those cans having 100 milligrams, and that seemed like a lot. I don't know, relative to speaking. I know that a shot of Makers and a shot of Miller Lite have a definite. I understand those distinctions. Do you know how to make kind of a distinction between some of the 10 and 25 milliliter as far as an intoxicant would go on something like that? Is there anything we can compare us to? Because we're still kind of new into this too.
No, I mean, not that I can.
Just in pure numbers, if we're going to multiples of what some of the other cans have in there, that's got to. Then obviously that's going to have a different effect. And
yeah, they say the standard serving or standard is about 5 milligrams. So you're going from 5 milligrams to 100 milligrams in some of these products.
By my Casey Elementary math, that's a 20 times multiple on that. So
yeah.
Thank you.
If I could follow up on
Sure.
that, Mr. Chairman, the one problem we have with that were the inconsistent numbers we had with the testing that we had done with the numbers that were on the can. So if you're used to drinking a 10 milligram here, but it was measuring here, and then you drink a 10 milligram and it's measuring up higher, so we had a consistency problem with the numbers on the can, and that's definitely something we want to talk more about as a testing.
So there's multiple problems. It's the stated amount, and then whether the actual amount is the stated amount.
Yeah.
Thank you. Senator Nunn, I believe, has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My comments are very similar to Senator Meredith's, which makes me feel good about myself that I'm in such good company. I worry about the small businesses that have invested, had the inventory on the shelves, the craft breweries in our state that sell these products. And so I would like to see some mechanism where they can sell down their product with some guardrails in place to address the concerns with the youth, getting their hands on this. So, but understanding what you said early on, that this is not where you want to land, this is the starting point. That's why I'm going to support this today, because I respect that approach. We do have to do something, so this is the start of the conversation.
Yeah, and to that, I received a lot of calls from some of my liquor stores in Louisville, and they said, Julie, we've got this inventory. Like, are we going to be allowed to just go ahead and sell off what our inventory is if the moratorium is the path that happens? And I can't see any reason not to allow someone to go ahead and finish with their inventory if that's an expenditure that they have made, while the terms were very different. So, yeah.
Thank you. That's all the questions I believe we have at this point. I don't know if the people that had signed up to speak against this measure have had the chance to go through and decide who is going to speak. But if you have, would you move forward, please? And we're looking at about 7 minutes here, but I grade on a time curve too. But I appreciate your understanding. I do want to leave. I'm sure that we'll have members that have questions for you guys as well, and I want to leave plenty of time for that as well. You can introduce yourself for the record and begin at your. turn your button on.
Thank you, Senator. My name is Jim Higdon. I'm co-founder of Cornbread Hemp, native of Lebanon, Kentucky, currently live in Louisville. Cornbread Hemp was founded by me and my cousin, Eric Zipperly, in 2019. And since then, we've grown into the fastest growing company in Kentucky, according to the Inc. 5000 last year. We currently employ 70 people in Louisville. And last week, the governor announced that we had been approved for $1 million in incentives through the Team Kentucky Workforce Development Program to fuel our next phase of growth, which was really good news for us last week until we got the news of this moratorium this week. Since we started at Cornbread Hemp, we've helped the cabinet, along with other members of the hemp industry in Kentucky, including Dee Dee Taylor to my right, helped with the public comment period when when House Bill 544 was introduced, passed unanimously by this body in 2023. We helped in the public comment period to get those regulations correct with the cabinet, and the cabinet's been a very good regulatory partner for us going forward. These products are regulated by that cabinet. The only difference of these products relative to other cannabinoid products is the form factor. There's oils, there's gummies, and there's beverages. It's the same ingredient, it's just in a different form. And these forms are regulated under existing Cabinet for Health and Family Services regulations. Relative to the testing of the beverages and the inconsistencies, this is something that we discovered ourselves in our R&D phase of developing our own beverage. For the past year, we've been working and invested over $1 million in a beverage program that we plan to launch next month. And in the course of that R&D, we learned that regular aluminum cans do not hold the cannabinoids emulsified in the water like they should. They leach into the sides of the can wall, and therefore, when they're tested, they can test far lower than what they're supposed to be because the cannabinoids have clung to the inner wall of the can. And that can be remedied with cans that have special linings that prevent this from happening, which Cornbread Hemp is prepared to do for our beverage launch. But SB 220 or 202, as written, puts our company at risk. Puts our company at risk because we've invested over $1 million in a product that we will not be able to sell if the moratorium goes into place. I understand there's a lot of yes votes at this committee. My only ask is that we have time to amend the bill and set a THC cap instead of a moratorium. I don't understand how a moratorium is different from a ban. The Latin root word for moratorium is death. And if, as a small business, we are forced into a moratorium, it will kill our growth. And as a small business that's growing and being successful in Kentucky, we would like the help of the General Assembly to continue to grow and employ Kentuckians. And this is not that. This is a hindrance and a stumbling block. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dee Dee Taylor to my right.
Hi, my name is Dee Dee Taylor. I am the owner of 502 Hemp in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm also the president of the Kentucky Hemp Association. We are completely against a moratorium that is a prohibition, and it would stop the growth. The cans that I see up here, I do not believe that any of them are actually approved products by the cabinet. So I would like to see some of the approved products because the cabinet has been slowly approving products. There are 146 beverages as of last night that were approved for sale in the state of Kentucky. Now, are retailers selling products that they shouldn't be? I am sure they are. But as of today, I also got notice that the cabinet has been going to retail stores and they are taking inventory and telling people if those products are not approved for sale. Could the cabinet work with the ABC? That might be an option. I would be okay with that. But at the same time, we already have regulations in place, 21 and up, behind the counter. You have to be a licensed hemp retailer to even sell these products. And that's huge. We already have that. We do not need more regulations in place. Big government is slowly choking small businesses as it is. And this is the last thing that retailers like myself need. I have alcoholics that come into my store that buy these cannabis products. And as far as the milligram goes, some need a higher milligram. Some need a higher milligram. Putting a cap on this is insane. You could say maybe there's 4 servings in one of these. That would be fine. Put it on the bottle. But to limit the milligrams and to cap it, it's wrong on so many levels. Literal alcoholics turn to these drinks so they're not drinking alcohol. And maybe that's the whole reason we're here today. Maybe it's because alcohol sales have plummeted. Who knows? But there's probably some truth to that. Tolerance levels vary. Same thing like they do with alcohol. People need higher milligrams. My husband is a veteran and he suffers with seizures. He needs higher milligrams. He needs to be able to take his daily dose of CBD. And cannabidiol is CBD. Cannabinoids involve all other cannabinoids, including THC. That is the one that gets people high. That is the one that is limited by the Farm Bill at the 0.3%. It's not a loophole. It's the law. And I implore you to meet with us. I was actually here in September for the first L&O committee meeting. I gave testimony back then. I have been here. I have been reaching out to everyone. Came here earlier in February to talk to Chairman Koch as well. So we are here to work with everybody. We did for House Bill 544, gave testimony for that. I'm all for keeping these products away from children. If we truly cared about our children, put some limits on the energy drinks, because that's what's killing kids. There's been 5 deaths already. Cannabis has never killed anyone. Thank you.
JT Webb. I am the state sales manager for a liquor distributorship that also works with these THC beverages. I think I'm kind of uniquely qualified because we do both. Some of you guys were relating this to alcohol and to kind of speak on that. But first, I would like to point out that since this has come in to our market a couple of years ago, we have worked as a distributor, and that second tier, when you're dealing with the alcohol industry, it's a 3-tier system here. The second tier is there to keep everything regulated, to make sure that people are complying. And it's the same thing with these. I think that there are other solutions other than basically works out to a ban for 15, 16 months. We've made great investments in it. We've doubled the size of our warehouse because of this. We've hired multiple salespeople. We've hired a marketing manager, more people in the warehouse. And these aren't just Kentucky jobs. These are well-paying Kentucky jobs, all brought on by this category that's growing at an astronomical rate. I think that you guys saw from November the marijuana dispensary ballot on our ballots that Kentuckians are in favor of this category. I think there's a reason that we're moving so fast on this so that we don't get that out, and we do hear from some of your constituents.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. We're well past time, and I know that there are members that have questions. I want to leave ample time for their questions on you too.
Okay. All right, but I do think that we need to look at the investments here. I think that a lot of this comes down to regulatory issues that can be solved in other ways other than a complete ban, such as, when we talk to our liquor stores, our restaurants, our bars that are serving these, we are the ones encouraging them to go online, sign up for the registry, make sure the products that come into the state are on the registry where they can be tested. That's kind of what we should be doing, is working together to get the word out. I, as a distributor here and one of the leaders in this category in the state, have never been contacted from anyone for advice, opinions, anything like that.
Okay,
Not once.
Thank you.
So
I believe we have a couple of people that have questions. Senator Byrd.
I'm really confused here. When we say 100 milligrams, we're talking about CBD or THC? We're talking about THC.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Senator.
So how does this get outside of the medical marijuana world? Where do you get off selling THC products outside of that?
It's hemp derived, and as long as it is below 0.3%, according to the Farm Bill, it's legal.
Even if it contains that much THC?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Adams, I believe you have a question. I've got a couple questions I want to direct to Mr. Higdon. It's always great to have a Latin scholar, not a Philip Latin scholar, so don't. You can embarrass me, but I'm not going to be able to talk back. But I had a couple of questions on that. You had mentioned that you had invested $1 million. Your company invested $1 million. I'm assuming that's not in product that you bought wholesale. That is in equipment and that sort of thing. It's what it sounded like you were going toward equipment to process and make. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator. We are working with a co-manufacturer for our beverage. We haven't purchased the equipment for the canning line. We're working with a.
So you've got a co-pack agreement with somebody on something like that.
Yes, Senator. Our investments are in inventory and marketing and in staff.
Okay. Thank you. I've got another follow-up. You had mentioned some in your R&D that you'd noticed some consistencies that led to that, and you seem to imply that your R&D was far enough along that you could figure out what to coat this with to get a more consistent output. Is that something that you found to be true?
Yes, Senator. After receiving word from the chairwoman that there was inconsistencies in these cans that were tested by the state, I talked to our lab director and got a good understanding of how we went about that. I'm very interested in the testing that the state did and if it was consistently below what was on the label, because that would track with what we were seeing with the leaching into the can liner. We finally found a lab that would do a wash of the can liner after testing the actual liquid, and that would get closer to the correct cannabinoid content relative to the label. But that's not good for the consumer. The consumer needs that cannabinoid emulsified in the liquid, and with an appropriate can liner, we can achieve that result.
I'm not asking for the Coke secret formula here, okay? But in your research and development, have you come across if there's different ingredients you mix in with that, if it has a different impact on the lining and some of the emulsification, and that's far enough along in that?
Yeah, I'm not the science nerd in our team either.
If you gave me a science answer, you would lose me.
We've got some really great UK graduates that work on that for us, but I believe Ms. Taylor has.
Well, I was just going to mention, the cabinet's rules give a 20% variance, so you could be for or against. So there's 20%.
Thank you. But my question was, in that situation with different ingredients that you use, and I'm sure that it's not just your inert ingredient and water, that they have other things. Has this far enough along in your research to notice that if we're going to look at regulating this stuff, that we need to know what the parameters are too. I know you're going through that and you're paying to do it, but I just it was more of just a question for discussion on that, how far along you are in figuring some of that out.
I don't. Forgive me, Senator. I don't understand exactly what the question is. Our beverages are very simple. They're sparkling water with the right amount of cannabinoid content and flavoring. That's natural flavoring that we've developed in house, and no other additional active ingredients.
All right, thank you. I do not believe. Oh, Senator Chambers Armstrong has one. We'll make this our last question if we can.
I'll keep it very short. I'm just looking for an answer. Is there currently a law or regulation that prohibits an intoxicating hemp beverage from being sold to someone under 18, under 21?
Yes.
Is it a statute? May I have a quick follow-up? Is it a statute or a regulation?
It's a regulation.
Okay. Thank you.
But it was under House Bill 544, so no, it's law. I mean, it says it in that bill as well that passed.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today. Chair Adams, it's your bill. You get the last word.
Sure. I'll just end with, I appreciate the testimony from the folks today, but you can see from their testimony today what we're dealing with, because we had Mr. Higdon testify that we should probably have a cap, and then we had Dee Dee testify that we can't cap milligrams because people need different doses, and then we had one that wants CHFS to enforce it, and then we had another one that said maybe we should have ABC enforce it, and then the third person said, yeah, I think that we need to institute the 3-tier system. So as you can see, it's difficult to get to the right decision. We're trying desperately to get to the right decision, but even the testimony from the stakeholders is is different. So I hope the committee will stick with us because we're trying to get to the right point. We're trying to get to the right place. And we're running out of days. And so I would appreciate just moving this along.
Thank you. There's no further questions, no further testimony. Do we have a motion on the bill? Motion by Senator Nunn. Is there a second? Second by Senator McDaniel. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Chambers Armstrong.
May I explain my pass vote?
Yes, you may.
I'm going to pass for today. I really don't like the moratorium piece, and I don't think I can vote for anything that has the moratorium in it. I just need to learn more. It sounds like everyone agrees there needs to be a regulatory framework, and I imagine a lot of us are going to say the same thing I'm saying here, which is regulation sounds good. Everyone should come to the table and figure out what that is. I just need more information before I can make a decision today, and I don't like shifting regulatory frameworks when they're going to hurt small businesses. Thank you.
Senator Berg. Ditto.
I'm going to pass for the exact reasons. I really don't have enough knowledge to know what these products are, where they're being made, how they're being regulated, and what we need to do about it. So I'm going to pass for now, but thank you.
Yes, you may explain your vote.
But as a position, if it comes to me, and I've got to make a decision of whether I save someone's life or I let a bill survive, I would ask everyone sitting up here who has been elected to make the hard decision to not cop out on their vote. Thank you very much.
Senator Higdon.
Explain my no vote.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a detriment to small business, and that's one of the reasons I'm voting no. It's already regulated, and progress is being made. And I encourage others to vote no also. Thank you.
Senator Howe.
Explain my I vote. This is something that I think is what I would think would be fairly typical from an emerging product with emerging laws to wrap around it. And we have made some progress in this space, but maybe not fast enough and maybe not fully enough. And I appreciate the efforts of both of the chairs to kind of tighten that up a little bit. I think everyone understands and agrees that this needs to be regulated, that needs to be structured, but we're not even on the same page on what regulation or what structure or who does this. And I'm hopeful that this part of the process will be able to draft some quick consensus on that so we can move.
Senator Mays Bledsoe. Senator McDaniel.
Aye.
Senator Meredith.
Explain my vote, please.
Sure.
I'm voting yes today, but like Senator Kelsey Armstrong, I don't like the moratorium piece. It bothers me greatly, but I understand and appreciate we need to do something. But we'll be back in January, and again, it looks like if we can monitor what progress we made between the date this bill is passed in January, then we could certainly revisit this in next January. So as the bill's written, I can't vote for it on the floor, but I understand the need to do something. So I'll vote for the bill today with the hopes that we can negotiate to some things in this interim period. But thank you.
Senator Nemes.
No.
Senator Nunn. Chair Rocky Adams.
I think this passes 7-1 with 3 passes. Senate 202 is amended by Committee Sub 1. It's passed with favorable expression. I believe we do have a title amendment in there. Is there a motion on title amendment? Motion by Senator McDaniel. Is there a second? Second by Senator Mays Bledsoe. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Title amendment to Senate Bill 202 is adopted.